Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. He's served in a number of capacities, holding key positions in Washington. He's run one of the biggest big cities in America and represented the United States overseas. There could be another opportunity to serve in the future, but first he's getting to know the people of New Hampshire. Rahm Emanuel is our guest this morning. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Adam.
So you're going to be out on the highways and byways of New Hampshire on a bicycle this weekend. What's this going to look like for you? Are you going to be part of a convoy, or is this more of a solo effort?
No, well, I'm going with a friend. When I was done being mayor, I biked 984 miles around Lake Michigan. We've also done from Pittsburgh to D.C. We're going to do across your state. Kids are, for every mile I do, underprivileged kids of New Hampshire can get a bike free, so they can learn the joys of biking. But it's a great way to also meet people, listen, hear their stories, hear what they're talking about. I joked when we were biking over Michigan. I said the thing I learned that the worse the cell phone service is, the nicer people are. There's a correlation between the two. But actually, great stories, great, not only stories, but things that are on people's mind, and you get to do that. So, and we're kicking it off, as you know, in Portsmouth, which has a lot of history, but specifically hosted the Russian-Japanese discussions under Teddy Roosevelt in 1905. So I'm looking forward to that beginning piece of it.
Right. Yeah, that's a historic negotiation. Right. It's a deep history. So
Nobel Prize.
On the on the biking front, you mentioned this. Other than the benefit of exercise, what do you get to see and experience out there to learn the lay of the land?
Yeah, one thing another anecdote. We're up in the upper part of past Traverse City in Michigan. A guy wearing an NRA hat is watching me because from TV in Chicago he could. So he starts to walk over, comes up, says, "Can I have a chair?" And sure, go ahead. And we spend 45 minutes. Now, he knows under President Clinton, I was the point man for both the Brady bill and the ban on assault weapons. And we talked for 45 minutes. I didn't convince him of the smartness of banning Uzis or AR-15s, and he didn't convince me why we should just let them flood the streets. That said, we had a very civil discussion. Shook hands at the end. He paid, I gave the tip, and it's that kind of discussion where actually the farther you get away from Washington and et cetera, while people disagree, so you shouldn't kind of sugarcoat it, they actually listen to each other. And so there will be things that you hear. There's a nurse in Iowa, not on a bike trip, who talked to me about spending 50% of her time not doing healthcare, fighting with insurance companies to pay for the healthcare that the doctor and she prescribed. So there's all types of, down in Hattiesburg, the principal is telling me how they pushed reading scores to 96% proficiency. Those are the things that you want to take with you and learn from.
Education has been a major topic for you of late. Take us into your higher ed plan. This is free college for all families, or students coming from families making less than $200,000 a year. That's a lot of young people.
Yeah, so well, first we start in elementary years. When I was in Mississippi, they went from 49th to 9th. And every stage, high school, vocational ed, as well as community colleges, I have laid out a reform plan to strengthen our education. You're not getting from here to there in the middle-class American dream without education. And we have become complacent with failure as a country. 50% of our kids cannot read at grade level. Colleges are doing remedial reading and math for kids graduating high school. So, second, on college specifically, allow every university and college to take up to 20% of their students foreign, who pay full price, everything. Give the American families, if you get 20 college credits in high school, you can get your BA in 3 years, not 4 years, save mom and dad a full year of tuition. Second, if you make less than $200,000 a year as a family, tuition free. And if you make more, you pay tuition, but it doesn't grow faster than inflation for that year. You basically have foreign students subsidizing the financial break for the American families. And colleges and universities will love the certainty knowing that the federal government said 20%, will stop declaring war on the greatest educational system in the world, the higher education system of America, and give them the certainty so they don't have to spend money on lawyers and accountants, but spend it on education and financial relief for American families. That's the trade-off. It's a grand bargain.
Yeah.
Foreign students pay, full American students get a break.
Access and affordability is one thing, and you touched on the quality aspect. What is the inflection point? What went wrong? Because it does seem as though the quality of the public education, especially at the elementary and high school levels, is not as good as it was maybe 20 or 30 years ago.
Well, two things. In my view, both parties to blame, and our kids are paying the price for this. Republicans walked away from public education. and Democrats walked away from standards and accountability, and our kids are falling through the cracks. And we've got to cease and desist. Now, the elementary years, what Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana have done is show us that if you return to the science of reading, phonics, the basics, the fundamentals, you can succeed. Replicate it on a national level. We actually know what to do. It's not a trick question anymore. The high school years fundamentally reform. That's where you lose kids. So 3 things that I'd say coming out of what Janice Jackson, the chancellor in Chicago, and I did. 1, every kid, and we got 98% compliance, to get your high school diploma, you had to produce a letter of acceptance from either a college, a community college, a branch of the armed forces, or a vocational ed. You're not walking till you tell us where you're walking to. You want to go work over there and fix submarines in Portsmouth? That's great. We want you to be the best pipe fitter there is. You want to actually go to college and be a physician? Here, everybody will know where they're going, not just your kids and my kids. You're not walking graduation day till you tell us where you're walking to. Second, to graduate high school, we set a goal, 50% of our kids will graduate with college credit. So they already got wind in their back, saving mom and dad money. Make that 100% of our kids across the country graduate with a minimum of 10 college credits in high school, so they get the confidence to do it, and they actually get the education that comes with that. And then third and finally, we're the first city in America to do this. If we got to be average in our high school, we make community college free. So all 3 of those components fundamentally reform the high school years. And really the other piece of this, merge the high school years and the community college. When I was in Franklin, New Hampshire, about a month ago, they did what we did, but they did it from a point they didn't have a math teacher. So the local community college did dual credit, dual enrollment, so kids in high school were taking college classes, getting college credit, getting college confidence, and the parents didn't have to pay for it. And the merging of the education, so it was not 2 distinct things, like Franklin, like La Crosse, Wisconsin, like Spartanburg, South Carolina, like what Chicago, Illinois. And I say, don't spend $8 billion on ICE detention centers. Spend them on the educational centers across America. There's 1,200 community colleges. The kids and the workers who go there are never seen by Washington, they're never heard by Washington, and they're an afterthought. Our community colleges and the students who work full-time that go there are the backbone of this economy.
Let's move to some international issues. How much longer, and I guess some tie-in to the U.S. economy, how much longer do you think the American economy can withstand this kind of standoff that we're in with Iran in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, let me flip the question. And the reason I say flip it, there's all this buzz about AI, et cetera, legitimately. You can't be a one-trick pony economy. We're the most diverse economy in the world. And the only thing carrying it, last 14 months, we went backwards on manufacturing jobs. Last 14 months under President Trump, we've gone backwards on industrial jobs. The only industry that's growing is healthcare. We're taking care of our older people. What about the educator? We're short doctors. We're short electricians. We're short pipe fitters. We're short physicians. We're short in every space. That's an opportunity. Now, I happen to think economically this will get figured out, but the bigger question, you can't be a one-trick pony economy. It can't be either AI or healthcare. It's too diverse. And we need to actually invest in people, invest in the foundation of the economy, research and development, your great universities here. That allows us to propel in growth in the area. An example of this, 2 things. One, all these new drugs are coming online that are actually making leap in healthcare as it relates to cancer treatment. All started under the National Institute of Health 30 years ago when we invested. So what I've called for, a 10% tax on all the predictive market bets, all the online sport gaming, and lock it into an innovation fund just for the National Science Foundation, just for the National Institute of Health, and just for the defense research. Make sure we double the size of our research so we can compete and win and not concede to China.
One of your many jobs over the years was to build Democratic majorities, win elections, find candidates who can win elections. We're a little jealous of all the attention here in New Hampshire being paid to our neighbors in Maine. This guy, Graham Plattner, as an analyst of candidates, do you think it's time for Democrats to cut bait on this guy, or should they ride him all the way to see what happens in November?
Well, I think, first of all, Maine's going to decide that, not national Democrats. I think there's a lot of questions. Look, this recent stuff, that's between him and his wife. That's not us. That's not you. That's not me. Hey, the only person he has to account to and talk to is the missus. As it relates to having a tattoo for 20 years of Nazi insignia and saying, I don't know what it is, some of his postings as it relates to violence against women, racism, that he has to account to the public, and they'll make that decision. Now, one of the things that I would just say is, as somebody that kind of did the combination of the lot to help make Nancy Pelosi Speaker in 2006, we recruited people who served the military, more importantly, served the country, were selfless in their sacrifice for this country. I believe, not just politically, that you want to reward people that think bigger and have shown that there's not about their re-election, it's about what you do for the country and preparing. And I think we had a great group of candidates. That's the profile you want. The voters in Maine will make a decision. It does have, I'm not being naive here, look, this has a consequence to the Democrats having the Senate or not. And I think there's going to the voters will decide of how to put your best foot forward. There's a lot of troubling questions, and one thing I know about politics, those questions don't usually end. They just continue. Look, let me say something about kind of a future, which is I'm into how to win elections and how to pass legislation. That is my record. How to get this country moving again, and how to have people who know how to serve the country rather than just serve their interests. That is what we have done. That is what I've done my whole life, and that's what I think is more important.
I want to ask one last question.
Although I do love your politics here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so we don't ask many main questions. So, but I do want to ask about, as we wrap up here, your thoughts on what the next Democratic president should do with whatever President Trump builds where the East Wing of the White House was.
Well, two things I would say, three. One, the court's got to decide whether this is thumbs up or down. In lieu, let's assume, hypothetically, they say we can go forward. I think two things have to happen. Inside, it has to be a tribute to democracy. 250 years of this great experiment that has changed not only the United States, but changed the world and become a benchmark for how people see the vote of the people, the voice of the people, the values of the people being represented. So make that hall for democracy. Second, it becomes a ballroom as well, is let the ballroom be used by not-for-profits. Have a domestic violence group be able to raise money and have a dinner and have their annual banquet. Have a not-for-profit that actually helps underserved kids, underprivileged kids. So it doesn't just pay tribute to the president and some foreign dignitary. It will do that. But the two things that I think will speak to returning to a spirit of community and what it means to be an American, I happen to think, Adam, you and I won the lottery ticket of life. We're Americans. So pay a tribute to this great country's democracy and its values and what we can learn from the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And then allow not-for-profits of all stripes. I picked obviously some interests that I have, that I've done my whole life, but have not-for-profits be able to use it to raise resources so they continue the good work of building the community and remembering the people that aren't seen or heard often.
All right, Ambassador Rahm Emanuel, thanks for joining us on Close Up. We hope to see you back here, and we'll see you out on the road this weekend.
Well, I hope to see you pedal.
I don't know about me.
This will be my, first of all, two things. One, I'll be out of breath, so I have to do the listening, not the talking.
Yeah.
Second, today is Amy's and my 32nd anniversary.
Congratulations.
And so she's going to learn that I actually can do a good job of listening.
Mr. Emanuel, appreciate your time here. We'll be right back with New Hampshire House Speaker Sherm Packard. Stay with us.